In other news, a multi-million-dollar threat is looming over the Okanagan in the form of a tiny shellfish. Zebra and quagga mussels aren't here yet, but the invasive species is spreading across North America. Well, now the federal government is looking at imposing new regulations to try to keep them out of the valley. Megan Turcato reports.
They may be small, but they pose a threat to the Okanagan Valley. The Okanagan Basin Water Board has long been warning that zebra and quagga mussels could have a significant negative impact on the environment, infrastructure, and the local economy.
So what this regulation does is actually prohibits the transport of those species into these areas such as BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, which don't have them, and we don't want them for both economic reasons and environmental reasons.
Two Okanagan MPs announcing today the federal government's plans for proposed new regulations aimed at preventing the introduction and spread of aquatic invasive species.
Unchecked, aquatic invasive species could create a serious imbalance in our waters by competing for the same food and resources that native species need to survive. Our government recognizes the need for rapid response capabilities to effectively manage this threat.
Under the new regulations, Canadian Border Service Agency officers would be able to enforce bans on importing at the border. The executive director of the Invasive Species Council of BC says that means they'll have the authority to stop incoming boats infested with invasive species like the mussels.
That regulation before didn't exist, so they couldn't stop them at the border. Provincial government in British Columbia has that authority to stop and inspect boats, but this enables the federal government, organizations such as the Canadian Border Services or the federal park system, to be able to stop transport of mussels.
With action on zebra and quagga mussels the subject of a long lobbying effort, the question could be asked, why did it take so long?
It's important that we rely on science. It's important that we get the regulatory framework correct.
The fact that we're getting it coming through now is important, and it's important to get it in place and that we can start acting on it right away. Whether it should have happened earlier or not, invasive species are a higher profile now and a higher concern now than they were recognized previously.
The goal to have the new regulations in effect by the next boating season, but there are a number of hoops to jump through first. There will be a 30-day comment period, and that input will have to be considered before the regulations are approved. Megan Turcato, Global News, Kelowna.
And according to the Okanagan Basin Water Board, the invasive mussels could cost the area upwards of $43 million a year if it made its way into our waterways.